I'm part of the leading founding team on, and it really lends itself to joint venture or a licensing technology. So it's a pharmaceutical device technology company. So,
Cool.
and I've been charged with we're early stage. I've been charged with the fundraising challenge, and I'm thinking a partnership and joint venture is probably the better avenue, so that we don't have to figure out all the ins and outs of distribution and the retail network, and really don't even really need to launch our own brand. We'd be happy to hand it over because it's patented, it's a great technology. So
That sounds totally fascinating.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll continue this conversation. I just want to let you know we're all live now. And so I just want to welcome everyone who's coming in on Facebook. And I want to welcome all of you here today. I am so excited to have my wonderful friend, Jay Fiset, with us today. So welcome, Jay. Thank you for being here.
Well, as always, my pleasure. I always like doing projects with you, Debbie.
It's so fun. And Jay's been super, super busy with all these different events going on, and an amazing event coming up, which he's going to tell you about. But I just want to introduce him briefly and then just dive into this amazing interview. Love you to be interactive and put your questions in the chat or your comments, your takeaways. The more you put in there, we were talking about that earlier. I don't know if you heard, but the more visible you are, because now we're not out there in the world. Everything is on Zoom. So be as visible as you can so that people will like, hey, I want to get to know you. Let's have a virtual coffee date. And the way you do that is in the chat. So just chat your insights and takeaways and ahas and questions, and just be, we want this to be super interactive. Okay. It's a small group today. Some other people hopefully will be joining us. A lot of people did register. So people are crazy these days. So I'm going to introduce Jay, and then he'll answer the questions as it's appropriate, or wait till the end. It's totally up to you, Jay, whatever you want to do. We'll just go with the flow.
I'm completely fine with jumping in. I couldn't get distracted on this topic. It is eat, breathe, live, so it's all good. Bring them on.
All right. So Jay Fiset is a lifelong entrepreneur, 2 Comma Club winner, best-selling author, husband and father, and vintage Porsche restorer. I love hearing his stories about restoring Porsches with his sons. And founder of JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. He's a student of human nature. He's had like decades of experience working with, having companies around helping people with the inner game piece. And that's one of the things I love about Jay so much. And he speaks fluent smartass, which is just like so Jay to say that. Like this is like right on his website, right? And he can see and reflect your life mission in 5 minutes flat. That I never knew about you.
It may require a glass of wine first, but usually I can do it in 5 minutes.
Love it. And he's dedicated to instigating a global movement of conscious creators and supporting people to organize their life and resources around their passions and gifts. And the reason I have Jay here is so many reasons. First of all, he's so brilliant. He has so much wisdom around this topic. He is the master at JV Partnerships, and we cannot do our businesses alone. There's just no way. He's so much fun, has such a great sense of humor, and he just makes learning so easy and fun. And no matter what he's teaching, he just always has this lightness and just levity. And I just love, I'm like a sponge around Jay. I just love learning everything he has to share. And I'll share something about, in a little bit, my experience with Jay and JV Partnerships. So welcome, Jay.
Thank you. That's a lot to follow. Now I feel like I have to be witty and funny,
well,
as opposed to just teach something.
You are naturally that way. You don't have to try anything. It's like in every cell of your body. And it's also the other thing too I want to share about Jay that I love is that, I work with heart-centered women and a few heart-centered men, and Jay has that really great balance between the masculine and feminine and the spiritual, like the head and the heart. And you don't always see that in men. And I just really, really want to acknowledge you, Jay, because the way you show up in the world is amazing. And, you've so much, there's just so much balance between the two parts of us. And we need both. The feminine's where we connect, the masculine's where we get shit done, and we need both, right? So
that is true.
Love that about you.
Thank you.
So, and welcome Deborah and Lori and Linda and Beverly we've been chatting with, and we'll have, and Stacy, fabulous. Great to see you guys. So why don't you share like what's your story? Like, how did you get to be doing this? Like, what inspired you to get started teaching JV partnerships? Where did that come from?
Well, I wish I could tell you it was, some brilliant strategy that I was sitting around going, I was like, oh, this is what I should do. But I'll give you some chapter titles leading up to it, because I am, I think perhaps in the entrepreneurial world, a bit of a dinosaur. I've been at it well over 35 years. And I actually started in a company called Personal Best Seminars that I went to work for, that I ultimately bought at the ripe old age of 22. Did that for an inordinate long span of time. And about 25 years later, decided, I think I'd like to figure out this digital marketing thing, because as much as I love doing the personal development stuff, we were doing courses in 3 cities, often doing over 230, 250 events a year. Quite clearly, that was not all me in terms of the team of facilitators and those sorts of things. And as beautiful as it was just there's no other way to say this, it was a shitload of work. So, one day I got this little, this email in my email inbox, and it fundamentally seduced me with a headline that said, "You too could stay at home in your fuzzy slippers, drinking coffee and making millions." And I thought, well, how hard could that be? Which, there's hint number 1 in all of my conversation today. Is like, never ask the universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to think of it, is how hard can it be? Because they will show you precisely how hard it will be. And then I spent about the next 3 years burning my money by the wheelbarrow full in my backyard every 90 days, trying to figure out digital marketing. And as that process continued, I have a bit of a stubborn demeanor, shall we say. And it was just like, damn it, I'm going to learn this. And instead of getting the support that I should have gotten right at the very beginning, it's like, I'm going to learn this on my own. It can't be that hard. I've seen the people doing it. They're not that sharp. I ultimately, at the end of 3 years, decided that I needed to get some support and assistance. I hired a couple of coaches and consultants. I joined a joint venture community. And in very short order after that, about a year, we had our first digital marketing win, which was a brand called Mastermind to Millions. And that went from something that didn't exist to doing $2.6 million in 14 months. And that became a really tidy and pretty fantastic business. And again, I wish I could say it was my great strategy, but it was more just sort of navigating our way through and dusting off a course where we had been teaching mastermind groups to our facilitators, trainers, and coaches for like 25 years prior to this, overnight success. But then what transpired was, the funniest thing to me was that people kept coming saying, it's like, how'd you do that? And it's like, well, we built great joint venture relationships. It's like, can you teach me how? It's like, no, we don't do that. And after having that conversation, probably no less than 350 times, it was like, well, for crying out loud, I suppose we should probably teach some people that. So then it was like, how'd you do that? Joint venture partnerships. Will you teach me? Well, it depends how much I like you. So then it was like, we did it for sort of a bunch of like sort of close in inner circle folks. Wow. That became what we called the JVology Summit, which was one of my first joint venture communities. And that exploded into JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit, I guess, January of 2017. And that has been our real driving force. So it was the natural unfolding, and one thing began, one thing opened another, and the short answer is being willing to respond to the requests of the marketplace, as opposed to, this is what I do and this is what I'm selling, this is how it's going to go. We were willing to respond to the demands of the marketplace, and those things have done stunningly well for us.
Wow, love that story. It's like when they keep asking you, it's like, okay, I need to create a business around what people want. Like, hello, well, right? I love that story. It's great.
And just on that note, because we dabbled with, so we did Mastermind to Millions for as our primary, and we occasionally do a JVology thing. And my bookkeeper and my accountant over a span of years, it's like, what's this thing over here? It's like, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just this thing we do. We go drink wine. We have some fun with these brilliant people, and we build some business stuff. It's nothing. And then finally one year, it's like, so that nothing thing is now doing about $500,000 a year. We should probably like create some chart of accounts for it. it's like, well, I suppose. So anyway, my point to that is, if you set it up well, it can be some of the easiest, most aligned and joyful income under the sun.
So why don't let's start, for some people, they might know what a JV, joint venture partners are like. So let's define, what do you mean by that? What's it all about, and who does it work for?
Great question. So And I want to really broaden this, and that's why I was fascinated, Beverly, by your the piece of technology. In today's world, JVs, particularly in the digital marketing space, JVs are thought to be this very narrow piece, which is like, you mail your list and I'll mail my list and that'll be that. And it's like, that is just such a ridiculously narrow view of what a joint venture can be. So from our view, a joint venture is whenever two or more companies or individuals come together to collaborate with their network, wisdom, resources, and experiences to serve their clients better and to solve the problem of their clients better. And in some way, shape, or form, they'll come up with a split for based upon what their input is, based upon what their output is, so that it becomes fair and equitable. And in its simplest form, it is a manner to grow our businesses incredibly quickly by matching what we have, what our partner has, and what we already know the problems of our clients are. So when this is done well, all it really does is take some wisdom and anticipation of the journey that our clients go through and a dedication to solve their problem better. And in so doing, we end up with great leads on the front end of our business and recurring passive income on the back end of our business. So think of it as win-win-win collaboration that is that works in the physical, in terms of going down to a store. It works in the online. It works in every single way, shape, or form. I have yet to be stumped about a business that couldn't scale and grow through joint ventures. And when people say, it's like, would that work for me? And I always say, it's like, I don't know. Do people buy your shit? It's like, well, yeah, they do. It's like, then could relationships with people help them to buy your stuff? Yeah. It's like, then it'll work. It's like, that's as simple as that. It doesn't get any more complex. Now, sometimes we have to navigate our way through to figure out what the best route for that is. But I've yet to come up with an example where that doesn't apply.
Well, the way I look at this is, they always talked about, way back in the day, it takes a village. Like I have a client who actually came to your last event. And before that, she's a business coach. She was promoting her programs on her own. And like right after the event, she's like, oh my God, this is so much easier. I didn't realize like it could be this easy. She did a webinar and all these people who came from the promotion of her joint venture partners. It's like, yes. I can't believe how easy this is. So it's so much harder to do it on our own, right? It's like, it takes a village. So it takes a community of people to support us and for us to support them.
Yes, my brand has two sort of core beliefs and stands that we really push, and one of which is simply we're better together. And we use that really sort of as the flag that we fly that says, this isn't really the spot for if you want to be the Lone Ranger or the Lone Wolf or any of those sorts of things, and you're dedicated to making it harder than it has to be because there's some internal thing you got to face. Well, you go to town. But if you wanted to actually make more money, have more fun, work less, serve your clients more, create more value in the world, maybe come over here. So we're better together. And the other one is a joint venture is a game of I'll go first, meaning that to joint venture, well, it really boils down to how do we become relevant? How do we contribute? How do we make a difference? How do we move the needle in another person's world so that we can build that relationship that's going to take us into the future? And just to put that in perspective, I have many JV partners that have been with me quite literally for a quarter century and beyond. If you do this well, this isn't a transaction. And there's lots and lots of sort of places for JV transactions, but it's not how we choose to go about it.
No. So we're going to share, I know you're going to share like an incredible amount of wisdom today, because we're going to go to the top of the hour. So I'm really excited for all that you're going to share. But I know you can't share everything in an hour. So
not even in 120 hours, honestly.
I know with all that you have. And so I know you have this success wheel, this joint venture success wheel that you want to offer people. Please share what that is. And I'm going to put the link in. So just in case anybody has to hop off early, that they can take advantage of this gift of yours. I'll put this in the chat.
And if we can just bear with me for just 1 second.
And I love Deborah said, never ask how hard something can be. Yes.
Yeah,
what were you going to say, Jay?
If you want to just share your screen with me briefly, I can even show people a little bit of the work thing.
Oh, you can.
There we go. I got it.
You can share your screen. Yeah.
There we go. So, gang, there's a freebie. I'm going to talk about what this is, and then if you get the freebie and the video training for it, it will give you what I think is one of the best contextual frames for getting yourself ready to JV and to communicate with JVs. And we call it the Joint Venture Success Wheel. It becomes one of the core driving force. I just realized my microphone is way over here through all of this. Does that sound any better?
You were fine, but
Was
it's
it?
good. It's
Okay.
better.
It's like, hidden way over there.
It's good. It's good.
So this becomes the core of a bunch of our training in the JVology community, in our joint venture mastery, our premium programs. We drive through it as a guiding principle through JVology Live. So this is just one of the core ideas. And I want you to think of it as a wheel. And this wheel is always turning, and we're always coming back to these pieces. But the most important part, the hub of the wheel doesn't go anywhere without the hub, is community. And for us to consciously and consistently build our communities so that we have, first and foremost, a shared language, we have a shared vision, we have people who are in our world who actually have the capacity to be our upstream and or our downstream, which, by the way, I'll communicate and teach that concept a little bit later in our conversation. So community is the core. And then you'll notice that we just put little white dots there. And that just speaks to my love of cars. And if anyone here has ever changed a tire on a car, you never actually you never tighten the bolts on the car wheel in a circle. You always go cross-reference. So what happens is that just make sure that it's on properly and nothing is out of whack and all the rest of it. So same as here. So we start with community, and then we always go down to tech foundation. Generally speaking, there has to be a foundation of technology that allows us to collect leads, that allows us to proactively pursue people who said they were interested in X product versus Y product. It allows us to use tracking links and the technology now to make it easy to track and reward the people who are working with and for us. So we've got to have that tech foundation. Then we go through tech foundation, through community, because we are always going through community. It's always the people that are around us that actually make this work. That goes up to list, this building. So this is where we are working on generally. And by the way, this is the old narrow view that people have of email. You should have email as a part of your list building strategy, but you should certainly also have SMS, Messenger, physical address, like you name it. Your Facebook groups, all of those pieces, those are all forms of lists. If you do any LinkedIn groups, that is a form of a list. And we dive into this piece and process, and it's just as simple as this. If we're not actively, consistently, over and over and over again, building our list in a daily, consistent basis, it's a little bit like your business is holding his breath underwater, hoping that something or someone's going to come by. It just literally is a recipe for disaster. So then we go from list building through community over to offers that convert. And this, by the way, is, sometimes people think of it a little bit like a combination of science and dark arts melded together that comes up with an offer that actually works. But there is some really powerful and consistent methods and means to make sure that our offers do convert. And then, of course, through community, we go over to partners, because if the offer really converts well, partners are really easy to get. And then what happens is that we just keep working this process over and over and over again. These 5 pillars, if you get these done well, we'll always tell you what your next step is in terms of your evolution as a JV partner, both with asking people to support you and when you are supporting others. So if you want this, there's a quick little opt-in, and it's about a 42-minute training. And in that 42-minute training, we go through what the actual rating pieces are. And if I scroll this up, you'll see that there's just a little circle for you to evaluate. But it steps you through that rating. And that rating will tell you precisely what you must do, who you must be to truly succeed at a high level of JVs. So if you're interested in that, it is... I want to be clear about it. This isn't just one of those quickie. It's like, oh, here's your 6-point checklist. It's like, this isn't that. This is actually real content directly from JVology Live that if you know this, you are set up to really take a great next step. But it does take some investment of time, effort, and energy. But I want to be clear about this. 41 minutes to understand what the hell you have to do, and then the capacity and support to go and do it will save you tens of thousands of dollars on Facebook ads, YouTube ads, rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, all of those sorts of things.
Wow, thank you. You're so generous to offer this. Really appreciate it. Fabulous. So I put the link here in the chat for everyone. So please go over and get that, and then we'll keep going. But I just want to make sure you all have something. Oh, you're so welcome, Lori. Yeah, it's an amazing. I've been through his event. I've been through the wheel, and it's real. It's a very powerful process.
And may I just add to that in terms of the process of it, is that it is not a one-time thing. This is as we evolve and get to different levels of JVs, that same framework in terms of what something looks like is where we come back to. So that's the thing that I want people to really recognize. I know people who are doing 7 figures in the JV space. If we count both sides of their income, that their next step is, okay, and what is my next evolution with my partners? What is my next evolution with the tech foundation? It goes in perpetuity, and you don't have to always improve it, but there are ways for that to evolve so that this becomes a core part of your business.
Love it. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so let's move on. So what are the 3 like required beliefs that people have to align their life and business with to succeed at joint ventures? Like what does it take? Because I know I talk all about beliefs and like intention and mindset. And so I love that this is part of what you teach as well.
Well, so we'll just tackle it, jump on the big one right out of the gate, which is that we must have a belief in abundance, that there is an abundance of clients, there's an abundance of money, there's an abundance of time, there's an abundance of love, all of those pieces. And the truth of the matter, most entrepreneurs at the end of the day are actually struggling with scarcity. And, for those of us who have ever put their staff's salary on their credit card, my hand is not up by accident, by the way, is that it can be damn difficult to hold this space of abundance while we're in the midst of, oh crap, a client left, or oh darn, somebody's credit card didn't process. Oh, like just all the realities of being an entrepreneur. So the idea in terms of what it actually means to consciously give and why this idea of abundance is so important is that most entrepreneurs pull back and contract and shrink when things aren't going well. And it is exactly that point in time where we've got to actually stand clear. Remember, a joint venture is a game of I'll go first, contribute, give, be meaningful. This is not the time to shirk to scarcity. It is the time to give consciously with abundance. And if we can't get that piece mastered, honest to goodness, that is where things go awry every single time. And I could give you a multitude of different examples about how that goes. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. In joint ventures, things go awry. They do. I mean, it's a relationship. It's the same as the relationship with your kids, your spouse, your partner, your friend, things go awry. And what you want is somebody who has an abundant and generous spirit to make things as fair and equitable when they do go awry. And that just one piece makes all the difference in the world. So that I would call that one belief. So let go of scarcity and claim abundance. Now, the next one for me is this. You've got to orient every single thing you do and that you bring to your clients through joint ventures through the eyes of your clients' needs. And whenever I say this, I always get a little snarky about it. And I didn't say your need to pay your mortgage. I didn't say your need for a holiday. I didn't say your need to send your kids to university. I didn't say any of that shit. I said your clients' needs. And if you're ever in a JV or there's an opportunity where it's like, well, this looks like it might be some great quick money and all the rest of it, but it isn't actually perfectly in alignment with your client's needs, honest to goodness, do yourself, your clients, your world, your business just a favor and back the hell off. There isn't 5 cents or 50,000 or $500,000 that's worth it in the universe to actually do something that isn't in alignment with your client's actual needs. And I could go on a very long rant, but I'm just going to stop there. And by the way, how we teach that and make sure that we're clear about that is this upstream downstream model that we go through. And then the third one, this is related actually to the other two, we call interdependence. And this is that piece of our belief that we were talking about earlier of we're better together, is that, lots of folks tied to the scarcity piece want to do it on their own, trying to keep their clients and all of these pieces. And, I'm going to pick on the network marketing industry for a brief moment. I know you do a bunch of work in the network marketing industry. And by the way, this isn't just about network marketing. It's about the grounding of the people that I was talking to. So short version is that we had a couple of organizations approach us like, hey, that JV thing sounds really, really good. But I can only bring my people if you can guarantee me that there'll be no other network marketing companies there and there won't be any other network marketing pitches, because I want my people, they have to stay focused on my thing. So I listened to this for a little while and then I finally say, it's like, so have you heard of this thing called Google? And they're like, well, yeah, I know Google. It's like, so here's a hint. If your folks were curious about other things, they, like the other umpteen billion people on planet Earth would go to Google and look it up. You don't need to try to keep them in the dark about other opportunities. Or I have an even better idea, which is this. If your opportunity isn't so good that you're scared that they might see another opportunity, how about you improve your piece of shit opportunity so that it actually compels them and inspires them to stay and share and actually do that for their living?
Oh, geez.
And they're like, well, no, that's not how it goes because my folks get distracted. Distracted my ass. That is a scarcity view where you want to insulate, protect, and actually hide information from your clients and your, let's call them coworkers for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And if that is ever the grounding, then certainly abundance isn't in place. Certainly clients' needs are not in place. And certainly interdependence is not in place.
Right.
Because what we want to do is we want to bring the best together. Anyway, so I could go on a little rant about that, but I just want to be super clear about this idea that when these three pieces come together, it creates the foundation for what we call win-win-win joint ventures. It's a win for the client, it's a win for our partner, and third and finally, it is a win for us. And that becomes the guiding principle. I actually have a little Venn diagram that demonstrates that pretty well. And we call that the JV mindset. I'll just pop it up here real quick. So abundance, clients' needs, and interdependence. But here's a couple of key distinctions that I think are really important for people to notice, is that when we get alignment between abundance and clients' needs, you'll never have to sell again. And if any of you have any sort of uck or gick or around the selling process, when this is aligned, where it's like, look, I only want you to make the best decision that we could possibly make for you, your life, your goals, your outcome, we're no longer selling. It's like, I want to help you make the right decision. And by the way, if that decision isn't me, I'd love to introduce you to somebody else. And by the way, you'll know that this is working when it's like somebody wants to pay you and you say, no, I'm actually not the very best person in the world for that. You should meet my friend Debbie. She has this follow-up system that makes my idea look silly. You should go talk to her. And when we get to that spot, you know that those things are in place. And then abundance and interdependence. Most entrepreneurs struggle with not enough resources. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough this. Here's the honest to God truth. No one has a shortage of resources. You may have a shortage of JV partners, but you don't have a shortage of resources. And if you're willing to look at it that way, it's quite marvelous. And then this overlap between interdependence and clients' needs, this is where we get leads. We can provide service and we can make income, and depending which side of the JV we're on, at times, no delivery. And this just all boils down to what I said earlier, the win-win-win joint ventures. So these three things, when I first started doing JVs, Debbie, I was often asked, I don't know how to describe this. People would call and they say, I had a JV that turned into a fiasco on wheels. It was, what happened? Can you tell me where we went wrong? And honest to goodness, in every single circumstance, I could take any JV that has gone south and put it in this little matrix and tell you where it went awry.
Wow.
And it's always, this is it. So was it in line with clients' needs? Well, not as much as it could have been. Surprise. Were both of you, in terms of partners, coming at it from a perspective of true abundance? Well, we thought we were, but then we got started fighting about X, Y, Z and LMNOP. So this, I just can't emphasize the significance of this enough. That's the foundation.
Wow. Love this. Thanks for sharing the visual, because I know a lot of us are very visual people. So for those of you who are listening, please start putting in the chat questions, takeaways, ahas so far. And we will keep going. So you mentioned about this upstream, downstream. Like, can you share a little bit about what that's all about and why it's so important to be able to determine, who are your upstream partners and who are your downstream partners?
Absolutely. And I think probably what I'll do, Debbie, unless you have another thought about it, I'll sort of give the big picture. And then I've got a little slide that sort of describes it that helps.
Yeah, sure.
I think sometimes people see it.
Whatever you want to do.
Okay. So here's the thing. And I would love, gang, if you could do me a favor and just type in a sentence, if you can, what is the problem that you solve for your clients? And as specific as you can, what's the problem you solve for your clients? And one of the things, Deborah, that's a great question. I promise I will get to that. One of the things that is really important about this idea of the problem that we solve is that it determines almost 90% of your JV strategy, if you are perfectly clear about it. And by the way, if you're not perfectly clear about the problem that you solve, then that becomes a whole nother difficult process for this. But let's assume that And I'd love to hear what yours is. So here's an example for me in terms of the problem that we solve. So JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. That brand solves, number one, getting perfectly qualified leads for free at the front end of people's businesses. So the problem that they usually have is they don't have enough leads, the leads are too expensive, and they don't know where the hell to find them. So we solve that. The other problem that we solve is we help entrepreneurs create a consistent recurring passive income through JV partnerships, so that the ups and the downs and the ins and the outs that sometimes happen with entrepreneurship get leveled out with consistent income. Now, whatever it is that you solve, you put it in there, that will be awesome. Because here's the honest to goodness truth. Whatever problem you solve right this second, while we're having this conversation, there are 500, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, in some cases, millions of people right this second discovering that they have the problem that you solve. They are in the process, some educational process where it's like, oh, goodness gracious, what I really need is. Beverly, in your case, they've gotten perhaps some medical diagnosis where it's like, oh my goodness, I have to keep an eye on this. Something has occurred that they now the problem has been caused, the problem has been revealed, the problem has been diagnosed. And generally speaking, those things happen in other businesses, in other organizations, in other locations that we would call upstream. And think of it this way. Upstream is the people that cause the problems that you solve. So a very simple example would be a home builder is upstream for a blind and window covering supplier. They caused the problem that the window covering supplier solves because they build a house that has a bunch of windows and doesn't have any window coverings. A doctor might be the diagnosis of a particular medical condition that might work for what your product or service is. So here's the thing. If at this second, there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people who are discovering that they have the problem that you solve, that are being diagnosed with the problem that you solve, that are in the midst of creating the problem that you solve, do you really want to be, how do I put this? Do you really want to be, taking a broad-based advertising and marketing approach of it's like, hey, I should put a post on Facebook, or hey, I should, contribute to the YouTube and Google billions? Or do you want to just actually go to the folks that caused that problem or diagnose that problem and say, hey, I know you do this really, really well. I actually happen to solve that problem. Why don't we create a deal that says whenever somebody says, hey, I realize that and I need to get that part fixed and you don't do it, you send them to me and I will reward you with money. Or, by the way, could be money, because there are there's insurance, the insurance world, there's some medical world, all those sorts of things where you can't actually do it with money, but there's a bunch of ways in which you can do that. And when we get really clear about that, what happens is it's very simple. Those folks know that they are causing that problem for people. And we simply say, let us solve it. And we will give you a whole nother income stream, which is we would have paid that money to advertising. We'll just happily give it to you. They give you the lead for free. You only have to pay when they convert. So that's upstream, the people that cause the problem, reveal the problem, diagnose the problem that you solve. Now, conversely, yes, when we target everyone, we are really targeting no one. That is without a doubt accurate. Okay. Problem, too much time spent on social media marketing that doesn't feel effective. I understand that. Now let's talk about downstream. So downstream is this next piece, is that yes, we solve problems. Yahoo. But every single time we solve a problem, they say by research, we're creating 5 to 7 new problems. And by the way, sometimes people get activated by the word problem. So think of it as problem, think of it as an opportunity. It's just something that has to be handled. If I got a new house, I need window coverings. Problem, not problem, opportunity, what the hell you want to call it, I don't care. But if you think of it from the perspective of what the problem is that you solve, and then it's like, great, now what are the problems that creates? Then that gives you a really great list of downstream partners. So I'll give you a simple example. So one of the things that when we teach people how to do joint ventures, it's like, well, wait a second, that sounds really fantastic. But if I'm going to do this tracking piece, I need some software that's going to do the tracking. So we have relationships with a variety of software manufacturers. So Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, InfluencerSoft, GrooveCart, a whole variety, because one is not right for everybody. But when people say, this is what I want and need, how am I going to build the pages? Use ClickFunnels. It's the simplest, easiest route. If they purchase it, we get paid. It's as simple as that. It just helps our client solve the next problem. Conceptually, does that all seem sound? Okay. Now, the tricky part is, of course, actually building that. So let me actually show you the PowerPoint. And as we're going through this, gang, what I want you to do is I want you to think of who fits. Okay, I got to share this real quick. And I'm going to use, by the way, the brand Mastermind to Millions, which is where we help coaches, authors, experts to position, launch, and lead their own masterminds. I literally just finished our 3-day event, Mastermind to Millions Live, a couple of days ago, and then disappeared for 2 days to get my brain back because we were a little busy. So this gives you an idea of how we've looked at it from here. So I think that one of the biggest mistakes that most entrepreneurs make is that they have these blinders on. It's like looking for somebody who has the problem that I solve. If I can only, so if one of those folks walks by, that would be totally fantastic. And I often sort of mock and tease people. It's like, it's a little bit like going fishing. One fishing rod, one hook with one piece of bait out to the river, throwing it in and hoping like hell that a fish is going to come back in and we'll catch a fish. Now, the truth of the matter is that actually works, right? People get clients in that manner. But generally speaking, it only works when you're fishing, and you're limited, generally speaking, to the number of fishing poles that you can actually handle, which for most people is about 1. So this gray line with the arrow represents the client's journey. And just know that the client's journey starts before you. The client's journey continues on after you. And to put not too fine a point on this, I find that entrepreneurs often overestimate their influence with their clients. Okay. It's like, oh, what I did for them was so amazing. And, all the rest. And that's all well and fine. I'm not trying to diminish anything that anyone here does, but I do think that it's a really important point to recognize this one fundamental truth. If for some terrible reason, we all got struck by lightning in 5 minutes from now, and we no longer were here to solve our clients' problems in the way that we do, none of our clients would end their lives. None of our clients would that be just so terrible that they couldn't possibly do anything. They would simply find somebody else who solves the problem that we've been solving. That's what they do. Maybe they shed a tear in between if we really were good, but that's it. We are in many ways, and this is just a healthy way to think about this, functionally irrelevant to our clients outside of the problem we solve. So if that was true, that means that we are generally seen as this little service provider. If we actually work this model, we shift from being just a service provider to being what I call a trusted advisor. And when that shifts, your income possibility, the quality of your relationships, the stability of your business, all improve epically. So we've already talked about it before in Upstream. These guys cause, diagnose, or create the problem. Downstream, they help our clients with the problems that we create with them. We simply cut a deal with all of the upstream partners that says, hey, if they have this problem, send them to me. If I convert them, I will send you a reward. Then we go and we say, hey, I know that my clients need X when they are done with me, and I would like to put you on my vetted supplier list, and I would like to cut a deal with you that it says if I provide you a client, you are going to send me money. This is how we get this blue line here. It's how we get a steady stream of consistent, perfectly qualified leads for free. And honest to God, gang, write that down. A steady stream of perfectly qualified leads for free. That is a little bit like Choir of Angels, Bigfoot riding a unicorn, rare. But we do it day in, day out, consistently in our community, in our courses, in our training, in our program. And here's the honest to goodness truth about this. One of the problems that we create is too many leads that people can't follow up with properly. In which case, we also have on our downstream organizations that help people hire. So VAs, salespeople, communicate, like all of those things, because we know that's a problem that we cause. Now, I want to just give you some examples, and then I want to hear a couple of examples from each of you. So our Upstream, and these are just examples for, again, we help coaches, authors, experts position, launch, and lead their own mastermind groups so that they have a premium offering to that's incredibly profitable. So IPEC Coach Training. So this is a coach certification organization that said, hey, we know that most coaches go out and struggle like mad. What if we could help them get leverage even before they get out into the world? So they got some of our content, they embedded that content in their certification process. When people would do this, like, hey, I want to do a mastermind, they would come and do the mastermind boot camp. We would send the money. A dear friend of mine, Karen McGregor, she is a public speaking teacher. So she has got this thing called Rock the Stage. But lots of the speakers only have like a book or a digital program or some version thereof that they're selling. So we wanted to help speakers actually have a premium offering again, where people wanted more intimacy and connection with them as educators. Worked beautifully and perfectly. Dr. Carrie Rose and Thinkific, she actually works with them. She is a curriculum designer, so she helps people create digital programs. And when a digital program actually works, a next level mastermind is brilliant, because people already, again, have created value, they've created results, and they want more access to the person who actually created the content. And Thinkific is a software platform where they have a whole bunch of people that built courses like that who should be running masterminds. And then for us, book publishers are fantastic as well. If they can actually get the book in the hands of people where they are being read, then the next logical thing is a premium offering to provide more intimacy again. So these folks all sent us leads. They would go into our system, they would go into our process. When they would buy the boot camp, we send them money. Simple, clean, and easy. And this, by the way, is how fundamentally we went from zero to $2.6 million in 14 months. And by the way, it wasn't just these 5. I think at the end of the day, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 165 great high-level partners that participated in sending us quality leads that were perfectly positioned. Now, I'm curious, before we move on from the upstream and go to the downstream, who here has an example of who is a perfect upstream based on the problem that you solve?
Just put in the chat, or want them to unmute?
Yeah, Wayne just unmuted. Wayne, fire away, please.
Yeah, so I just had an opportunity to work with a B2B marketing consultant who works with companies that are JV financed.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mean to say JV financed, that they're investor financed. And
Yep.
and so one of the things that he needs to do is understand quickly how and why do people buy. So
Yep.
kind of the issue that you're talking about. So yeah, we met up a couple years ago, and now he's just including me in all of his projects to equip him with the intelligence about how and why people really buy, that enables him to make changes in the way the organization goes to market.
Love that. What was the name of that? Oh, my bookshelf is behind my fake brick wall, and there's a book I was going to. It's like, oh, there's a fantastic book that I read years ago about that. But anyway, it escapes me right now, Wayne. Geez, it was good. Anyway, so I love that. That's a great example, by the way. So you have actually become embedded content and an embedded part of that of his funnel. See, we would call that, in terms of the levels of JVs, there's sort of like 3 levels of JVs. There's affiliate marketing. You get a link for something, you send it off, maybe it's in your signature file. Then there's a JV that usually has a beginning, a middle, and end, that we come together, we do our pieces, and then we get the hell out. And if it went well, we could always come back together to do it again. And then the third part, which is what I'm always most excited about, is what I call strategic partnerships, where my content is embedded in somebody else's process, as it was for IPEC Coaching, as it is for Thinkific, as it is for Dr. Carrie Rose. Like 3 of those 5, I have that similar arrangement with. And when we can get those strategic embedded pieces, is that we have this steady stream forever. So I think, I've got a little piece of content called Escape the Marginal Success Trap. And I bet that piece of content is in about 20, maybe 25 other people's programs. And it just spits clients out on a consistent and regular basis. So brilliant.
That makes me think about ways in which what I haven't done is, and I haven't gone back to him and said, how can I help you win your next gig? So I could more actively help him form his own go-to-market, and make customer intelligence a core part of what he does.
I like the sounds of that. And of course, my next piece is, on that same note, Wayne, is that whenever I find a great organization, unless I signed exclusivity, is that whenever I get one of those things working well, it's like, so who else is in that space that we should be doing that with? So for example, the IPEC deal that we came up with, that IPEC deal, I wanted that, and I probably searched and sort of let's say, poked around at different organizations for about 4 to 6 months. And then the founder of IPEC came to one of my live events and said, "You're the guy. We want this. This is how this has got to go." But they were very shrewd, which was they asked that we made it exclusive to them so that they would be the only coaching school that had exclusive mastermind content from the best deliverer in the world. And that was the deal, which I was fine with. There's clearly opportunity cost, but at the time it was absolutely perfect. And we frankly had too many clients. That was a problem we had. So that's another great conversation. Love that. Cool. Crystal Small said, doctors, orthopedic surgeons. May I ask what the problem is that you solve, Crystal?
Hi.
Hey.
So I have partnered with a wellness and nutrition company. And we have, food that really supports us at a cellular level, but also supplements that really make a difference with healing, especially. I'm an OT, so yep. I kind of have a love for that. But I just know that if we could integrate this in, the plan for people who are doing surgery and having, especially, a surgery that's scheduled, the results and the outcomes for the doctors would be amazing. For the patients, it would be amazing. And obviously for my business, it would be amazing.
Yeah. So I love that. Where are you from, by the way, Crystal?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. Okay. So I'm in Canada, and I don't know what the mechanics of this are exactly for you, but I just want to share this in terms of trying to figure it out. So my sister, who's been having some health challenges, has been pursuing both traditional healing and some alternative stuff as well. And the doctors were really unwilling to weigh in and refer and all of those sorts of things. So sometimes you have to get them either pre-doctor or post-surgery, not outside of their care, but looking for alternatives outside of there. So this is one of the pieces where in this upstream model here, can you see my mouse going back and forth?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So sometimes, that perfect person is like right beside you, which might be the doctor. And sometimes we actually have to go further back. And by the way, if you're ever having trouble with your JV, go further back upstream. So at what point, and I'm just making shit up here to be perfectly clear, but let's just be clear, is that pre-surgeon, if they were open to a sort of alternatives and those sorts of things, maybe they were looking for other things earlier. That might be easier than where the doctor says, look, I can't, I have a legal obligation. I can't recommend anything. I can't refer anything. I can't get paid for anything. I can't, all those sorts of things. But if we go further back up the stream prior to that, that might be one of the more open and willing referral systems. Mm-hmm. And by the way, maybe where you are, the doctors can. I don't know. I just know my sister had a little bit of trouble with that.
They're tough. But, like physical therapists, oftentimes, if people are going for knee or hip replacements, they are referred to a therapist first.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That might be a route. Love that. Thank you. All right. We're going to talk about downstream real quick. And so downstream is this piece of, okay, I have done my part. I have solved this particular problem. I have done X, Y, Z, and LMNOP. And then we know that our clients, to either fully integrate the solution or to get more speed or to have more health or to, you insert the blanks, whatever it is, now have another set of needs. So for us in this circumstance, oftentimes if they got one mastermind group up and running, it's like, good Lord, this is fantastic and marvelous and amazing. I want to do more. Outstanding. Then let's do that. But you need exposure. So we would introduce them to my buddy Ari, who runs this thing called the Entrepreneurs Network. Then there was technology stuff, Infusionsoft and ClickFunnels. If you want to get some scale in terms of organizing those things, here are 2 tools that can help you. Then if you're going to get if you're going to get a presence online, you got to make sure that your ducks in a row. Everything from the cookies announcement to the data terms and conditions, to all of those pieces need to be in place, and that is becoming more and more important. So then I would send them to my friend Heather, the legal website warrior. And then if you're going to do technology, my fervent belief is that you cannot get lost in doing the technology yourself. Hire someone, for goodness sakes. And that's where my dear friends Brad and Michelle, who we've been working together for over 20 years, go talk to them. They'll be able to help you out. So this becomes this process where what happens is you'll have a perfectly qualified set of leads. And then here you have recurring passive income that quite literally shows up depending on how you do it. We use PayPal a lot, the Canadian US thing. And I have truly come to think of my PayPal account as the equivalent of when I was a kid, the couch cushions. It's like, it's like, geez, I wonder if there's any money in the couch cushions because I want to go get a chocolate bar. And now it's that the version of that is now it's like, I wonder if there's any money in PayPal because I got to go buy Porsche parts. And the good news is that there is usually enough money in the PayPal account to go buy whatever I want. And sometimes it's quite shocking. It's like, wow, that used to be a year of income. It's like, that's pretty fantastic. So when this works really well, and I want to be clear about this, it doesn't work really well arbitrarily. It works really well because we invest in the relationships. It works really well because we understand the problems of our customers. It works really well because we shift from being a problem solver to being a trusted advisor. And that, by the way, doesn't take weeks or months. In most cases, that's a 12 to 24 month process. But when it smooths out and you have this long list of upstream partners and this long list of downstream partners, you get to go, and I was saying this to Debbie when previous to the call. It's like when COVID hit, we basically stopped working for 3 months. And this year will still be a strong 7-figure year, but we stopped working for 3 months. We still got paid from a bunch of the processes that we utilize in this scenario. We didn't have to go hound our clients, any of those sorts of things. We got to focus on our family and have a marvelous time. That was because, and I want to be very clear about this, because of how we designed our business using this upstream downstream model. That was the key to it. So any questions about this that I could clarify or give more specificity to?
And then I have one more question. If people don't have any questions, one more question, and then we'll wrap up. But anybody have any questions for Jay, or just write them, put them in the chat, and we'll get to them very shortly. So Jay, how about crafting like your irresistible and magnetic invitation to a JV partner? Like, share a little bit about how to craft that invitation. What do you say when you reach out to somebody to invite them to partner up with you?
That's a fantastic question, by the way. First and foremost, if you understand the upstream and the downstream model, it's different depending upon where they are on the client's journey. And by the way, it seems so obvious when I did talk about it today, but honest to goodness, I was in the JV space for probably 2.5 years before I figured out, it's like, wait a second, it's different. And that's kind of embarrassing to say, but it's like, and nobody else ever explained it in this manner to me. So first and foremost, so you've got to figure out which end they're on. And honest to goodness, gang, it is always easier to get a downstream partner than it is an upstream partner. And if you think of it from this perspective, it's like, hey, if somebody shows up on your doorstep and says, hey, could I send you some perfectly qualified clients that if they buy, you'll reward me? Who the hell's going to say no? What's the worst thing that can happen? They don't send you anything, or they send you somebody that isn't quite right and it doesn't work. The worst thing is you get a couple of leads. But the upstream partners, that's a little bit different. And that's a little bit different because you're now asking them to endorse you and to take care of their clients in the manner that you're supposed to take care of their clients. And I always ask people to use this measure, is that if you wouldn't refer your mother to that downstream partner, then you shouldn't refer anybody. So if they're going to take good enough care that I would send my mom, I will send anyone. And that becomes the filtering. And by the way, if they didn't take care of my mother properly, she'd just take them out. So we wouldn't have to worry about it. It's like, yeah, that person used to be around, but now they're not. She's a tough little bird. But that becomes this qualification. So if it's downstream, it's just like, hey, I have these clients, they have this problem. I would like to serve them better. Let's do a quick little trial, see how you can convert. I would like to test out your product and service. I would like to make sure that everything is copacetic, and let's do a little trial run. Simple, clean, and easy. And they'll, on the assumption that they have their system set up, they'll say, hell yes. The upstream ones take a little bit more time in terms of we have to build more trust with them, in terms of we want to contribute to them more meaningfully. I generally try to find out, by the way, how this goes back to a joint venture is game of I'll go first, I generally try and figure out, is there a product or service line that I have that I could refer to them first, so that I can become relevant? I can build that trust. We can get a sense of how things are going with one another. We can have, I'll call it actually joint venture dating. We get to have a little bit of joint venture dating to see if, in fact, we'd like to actually kiss. And so we do a little bit of that process. But what it really boils down to on the front end is this, is that I have the capacity. So I'm having a conversation with an upstream partner. So I have the capacity to help your clients get their problem solved better. If we do this well, you have the capacity to have an entirely new income stream that is pure profit. Because here's the thing, when we are using this, they're referring to us, that money that we pay them is pure profit. It goes directly to the bottom line. And this is one of the things where people don't necessarily always wrap their noodle around this. It's like, well, why would I send a client somewhere else? Well, number one, because they're going to go anyway, because they have a new problem. So why don't we actually help them recommend somebody and actually have an income stream that, please hear this, has zero cost attached to it. You have no delivery, you have none of those things. They take care of it. They simply send you money, which goes into your bank account and onto your profitability. This is one of the reasons why a really well-structured business model using JVs is sometimes 3, 4, 5 times more profitable than just somebody regularly doing their business. It's because the costs are gone. And again, as long as you're coming from an abundant point of view and you've figured out what that relationship is and how it's a win for everyone, it's like heaven sent. So the big piece is build trust up front, run a couple of key tests, make sure they understand that that money is profit, not an additional thing that has to go against their variable expenses and their fixed expenses. This is found freaking money. That's usually how it goes.
Awesome. So we're kind of running out of time here, but if you have a few minutes afterwards, if you guys want to stay on, or if you can stay on, Jay, do you have a few minutes to answer some more questions after? Because I want you to share about your event coming up. And I know Wayne had a really good question.
I was just reading it.
So you have an amazing event coming up. I've attended a couple of them. Please share what it is, what's going to happen there, what are they going to take away? And I know you have an amazing offer for people, and I'm going to put the link in the chat here.
I'm going to show the JVology Live page. So December 4th through 6th, we have our event, which is called JVology Live. And it is truly a phenomenal event. I was going to play that video, but we're not going to for the purposes of time. Yeah, so here's what it boils down to is that you'll be in a room with about 150 entrepreneurs. We go through the process of teaching you how to restructure the business model. So you've got the upstream, downstream, but you still got to map that piece out. How to, number one, restructure the business model so that that actually fits. Then we teach you all of the key elements about making JV invitations. And this is perhaps the most beautiful part about this entire piece is that the joint venture invitations and the opportunities for joint venture invitations is you will have an individual discussion with at least 100, maybe 115 of the people who are in that room, because we break out on a consistent basis. So if you're showing up and participating, number one, we'll teach you how to craft the JV invitation. You'll learn how to craft what we call a joint venture one sheet. And then you're going to practice that in the room quite literally 100 times, so that you become comfortable about it, embodied with it. And here's the beautiful part about it, is that even when you're practicing, you will leave with JV partners. You'll leave with podcast book, you'll leave with webinars book, you'll leave with reciprocal arrangements, you'll leave with Facebook Lives, you'll leave with webinars, like you will leave with partners. And in this process, we go through all of the strategies that are powerful tools to get ready to be a JV, things like Facebook challenges, things like what we call the product launch formula, things like webinar launches, ways in which we can align the energy of our partners and move them towards a conversion process. And every single step of that is built to map the 5 pillars of JVs that work. So it is a phenomenal process. Now, just to be clear about this, the early bird tickets are $197 in terms of the regular seats, and the early bird VIPs are $397. Now, this is $997 and $1497 regularly. And I want to just point out something kind of cool. You will also get was gonna show the one I have, but it's like my computer is sitting on it. But if you go VIP, you get what we call the large partner creation box. This gets sent to you. It has a workbook in it, a T-shirt, a wine glass, because we teach something called wine conversations and cash as a way of building joint ventures. And this is a ton of fun, by the way, and a whole bunch of other cool surprises in it. So that's the VIP box. There is also one that goes for the regular ticket, which is slightly smaller, and you don't get a T-shirt or a couple of the other key things. So no T-shirt. But here's the thing. If you're interested in this, the VIP ticket is really exceptional because you end up getting interviewed on our page and shared on Facebook, which we have 29,000 followers. It gets broadcast on YouTube. And then we create something called the Very Important Partner page, which is a way in which you are featured, not just to the other people in our course, where they can go and they can find your partner sign up form. They can find your freebie. They can see more about who you are and what you do, your website for resources, so they can say, yes, you know what, Wayne's a perfect match for me. I'm going to reach out to Wayne. So we've got that whole page done as well. And we do JV brokering for you. We will actually introduce you to 5 people that we believe are on your upstream and your downstream to facilitate you getting moving and shaking. And some of those folks are in the weekend. Some of those folks are in our broader community. Some of those folks are outside of our community, because we do this in a bunch of different ways. So that is the event. Is coming up 4th to 6th, and our consistent feedback, and it'd be when there we go. There's the wine glasses, even branded. Yes, exactly. We use the glasses a lot, but there's a ton of tremendous testimonials if you want to check that out. But here's the key piece to show you. Deborah is always looking out for you guys, her tribe, her community, all those pieces. And what we agreed to is that if you want to take advantage of this, is that we can knock $100 off each of these. So you can get a regular ticket for $97, or you can get a VIP ticket for $297. Now, the one thing I didn't say that I just want to point out, this JV brokering 5 introductions, we actually do that for people outside of these events. And we charge $1,297 for that, just for 5 quality introductions that we know are in the upstream and the downstream, let alone the promotion pieces, let alone all of the other elements. But what this boils down to for us is our belief that a joint venture is a game of I'll go first. We want to put you in the room. We want to provide you with partners, and we do the, in its simplest terms, there's what to do. This is what you should do. You should get upstream and downstream partners. Then we show you the how to do it. We'll literally hold your hand for 3 days saying, this is how we do it. Go talk to this person. This is what you do. This is how you do it. This is, the whole bit. And then the third part, and lots of people do the first one. Some people do the first and the second, but we do all 3, which is the third part, is we give you the who to do it with. And quite literally, we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year building these communities and bringing people together. You can come and play with it for a couple $100. So if that resonates with you and joint ventures are on your radar, I would 100% get there. And by the way, if you're going to do this, you need to do this. This is a relationship building process. Don't come drop in and out. I can just tell you right now, it's like, I don't think any of you ever had a good first date that you left early. Doesn't work out particularly well. It's like, yeah, you're awesome. Bye. I'm going to go to the bathroom and never come back. So it doesn't work that way. If you're going to build a relationship, it helps to be there. So if you're going to do this, please come do this, and you will be blown away at the results and the experience and the quality of people who are there.
Well, thank you so much, Jane. I just want to share my personal experience. This month I calculated from all these several JV partners, I'm going to have an extra $3,800 coming in, right? And these are people who are helping my clients and helping, like my clients are benefiting from their products or services, because I can't do everything, right? So, and what I love about our relationship is like we're upstream, downstream for each other.
We're both,
right?
Yep.
We're both. So I'm sending lots of people to you because I don't teach JV partnerships. I talk about it a little bit, more like power partners. But you're the expert there, so I'm not. I don't want to go there. And then when when people come to your event and they start creating JV partnerships, they need a follow-up system and they need to have a sales process. So it's just such a great synergy.
Yes. I want to make sure I answer that question for Deborah. Thank you for reminding me, by the way, just before we totally wrap up. So here's the thing, Deborah. That's actually big picture a non-issue. So there's a multitude of ways in which we can do this. So one way is simply this, is that the list size doesn't matter, because if we both have similar conversion pieces, is that somebody should get a whole bunch more money if they've got a larger list, on the assumption that we can both convert at a similar level. Alternatively, you can do simple things like a pure list swap that actually is matching in terms of the numbers, that has no other affiliate component to that. So that would look a little bit like this. Let's imagine that you had 1,500 people on your list and I've got 50,000 on my list. You come and you say, hey, what I'd love to do is to build my list further. And I think that we've got a good combination of upstream, downstream. If you would mail to 1,500 people of your list, I'll mail to 1,500 people on my list. And we simply do a pure clean list swap. Don't have to track affiliates, don't have to do any of those sorts of things. It was just, it had some equality. Other ways to do it is that sometimes the bigger partner will say, well, hey, you go first. And if you drive 500 opt-ins, I will make sure that I will drive 500 opt-ins. So there's a bunch of ways to make that equitable. And here's what I find is that when the upstream downstream is matched, people are way less interested in that. It's like, wait a second, this could actually solve my client's problems and it actually fits in here. It's like, I'm all good. We'll figure out a way for that to work and for it to be equitable. So don't get worried about that in any way, shape, or form. There are a multitude of ways to do that.
And then that's awesome. And then Wayne had a question further up. Where did it go? About, where is it?
Referring and, but not getting paid. Yes.
Yeah.
So Wayne, that's an interesting one. So the good news is that it speaks volumes about your capacity to build relationships and the fact that you've got that thing going on for a long while. I would just, and by the way, and I have done this, this is not a, this isn't theoretical. I would go and approach the people that's been going on and saying, look, I've been doing this sort of on an ad hoc basis when it really sort of stuck out like a sore thumb that this is what should transpire. But I'm actually in the midst of restructuring my business where I'm actually going to utilize joint ventures, both at the front end of my business and the back end of my business. And I'm looking for people that solve these problems, that have this capacity, that are quality enough that I can send my mother to. And then we're going to formalize the process so that this gets embedded in some way, shape, or form. And if I embed it, what I want is a financial reward. I should be sending you more. This should be a formalized agreement. And I'd like to be financially rewarded. Now, 80% of the time, they're like, so you're going to work harder, you're going to send more, and I'm going to pay a little bit. Yahoo. Goes as smooth as can be. Every once in a while, people get tweaked on the nose because one of their lead suppliers is now asking for a reward. And my stand to that is like, well, so if it's not you, it's somebody else. So I'm all good either way. I still have these clients. I'm going to put them somewhere, and where I'm going to put them, I will be rewarded for, because this is a part of how I built my business and how I'm going to build my business. And I'm happy to integrate you as long as it's equitable. And if a freebie isn't equitable, then we've got to figure something else out. It's almost always good. Occasionally somebody gets tweaked on the nose, which I don't understand. It's like, on what planet do I have an obligation to send you clients for free? Like, that's like, and by the way, I do that for friends and those sorts of things, but those same friends would be, it's like, they're also the people that it's like, can I pay you? Can I reward you? Can I like there's a desire for it to be equitable. And if somebody doesn't have the desire for it to be equitable, then, sort of don't let the door hit your ass on the way out.
That's what I love about your event, because you're getting 2 thumbs up from Wayne, because everyone at the event is going to have that mindset about supporting you and you supporting them if it's a good fit. And so there's the way of looking at the whole situation. That's, made it so easy to have those follow-up coffee dates with everyone, because people are all on the same page, because they just spent 3 days with you learning this process. And one quick story I want to share, and then we should wrap up, is that I met a woman through an event with you, and we did an interview swap. And from an interview, she interviewed me to her community. 5 people signed up for my introductory profitable networking formula program, my 6-week program. 1 person signed up to work with me one-on-one, and it was over $13,000, almost $14,000 in income from that one 30-minute interview. So this is real stuff. Like, this is, and my clients are, her clients are now benefiting greatly from the work that they're doing with me, right? Because this is not what she does. She teaches sales, but she doesn't teach follow-up. And so it's been a great, great partnership.
And they would have gone and looked somewhere anyway. This is that
Exactly.
thing that people seem to miss. It's like they're going to go get that support anyway. So let's help them get it.
Well, I'm going to be at the event. I hope to see you all there. $100 off is I mean, $97 for 3 days of gold and wisdom. And like Jay said, it's meeting all these people. Not only going to learn how to do it, what to do, but you're going to have the people there to do it with. And that's pretty unusual in an event. So you're providing like a holistic approach to JV partnerships. Well, thank you, Jay, so much. Is there anything else you want to say before we conclude? Any wrap up or wisdom you want to leave with everyone?
You know, I think the only last thought, which I'm sure that all of us have had, but I'll say it out loud, is that my belief / concern about what is happening in the world with the epic weirdness, I don't know how else to put that, is that honest to God, gang, I really feel in my bones that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And we should not. And by the way, this is just the conversation I'm having with all of my premium clients. This is the same conversation I'm having with my family. This is my sort of private inner circle conversation, which is it's going to get worse before it gets better. We cannot postpone and still think, oh, we're just going to get back to business as usual. And if you've had some of the ups and the downs through this process thus far, it's going to get louder. So this to me is one of those pieces of building a community. That's why that is at the center of the hub, building a community where we help navigate through with and for one another. And if for no other reason, then you get that we're at an odd time in our world, and it's an odd time for entrepreneurs. This is one more quiver in your, this is one more arrow in your quiver about navigating your way through. And it's an inexpensive arrow to get and to understand and then decide. Because here's what I think is that, well, here's what I know. Most people don't understand what this really means and the impact that it can have until you spend 3 days in it. And it's like, holy crap. And spend $97 and then decide, is this something I want to do or not? And I believe the answer is yes, particularly where we're headed. So that's my last thing of just be prepared for the next 6 months to be pretty entertaining, and you should have another arrow in your quiver.
Yeah. And I love that, Jay. And one of the things I didn't realize until recently, my whole thing going into JV partnerships is how can I help other people and send them clients? How can I get more exposure for my programs and send me clients? But I wasn't really thinking about the passive income early on. And it wasn't until I started referring people, and then clients are saying, thank you so much for referring me to Mary and to Charlie and whoever, like they're thanking me for referring them to these people. And now this this passive income is coming in. And so that's just icing on the cake. Like you said, it is a win-win-win. Everybody's benefiting. So there's so many different benefits to it. Like it's multifaceted. And that's what I love about the whole approach. So thank you so much for all your wisdom, for your time today. Thank you all for participating. It makes it so much more fun when you're participating and playing full out. Hope to see you at the event. I'm going to be sending out the replay, or actually Jay will be sending out the replay tomorrow. So if you came on late, you want to hear something again, you'll have the opportunity to do that. We'll have all the links in there as well. So everybody in the US, happy Thanksgiving. If you're in Canada, other parts of the world, just be safe, be healthy, and reach out if you have any questions for me or for Jay.
Awesome.
So Jay, thanks a million. So appreciate you. Bye, everybody. Be well, Be safe. Great seeing all of you. Okay, bye for now.